Hey Night Riders, DisRegarding Henry here with an Unmade Masterpieces Quickie. I was asked a little while ago, by Johnny FL, to create an episode on Werner Herzog's The Conquest of Mexico, a request to which I happily obliged. But as I dove into the research, I realized that there actually might not be enough information out there to create as thorough an episode as I would have liked. I searched in vain for any kind of in-depth articles, interviews, books, a script. I couldn't find anything substantial. But it's possible I just didn't look hard enough. So I decided to post this shorter episode just to share what little info I was able to find and ask anyone who knows where I can find more to share those sources with me so that I can do a more complete episode later. But until then, here's everything I know about Werner Herzog's The Conquest of Mexico. Werner Herzog is a legend. There's no other word that does him justice. He's a legend. This is a man who began his movie-making career by dropping out of film school, stealing a camera on his way out, and then using that camera to make his first 10 films. He made his name with a series of collaborations with volatile actor Klaus Kinski, including his breakthrough, Augere, The Wrath of God. Wild rumors have persisted that their working relationship was so tense he once forced an uncooperative Kinski to act for him at gunpoint. This is the man who towed a full-size steamboat over a mountain for Fitzcarraldo, who ate his shoe to inspire documentary filmmaker Errol Morris to complete his first film, Gates of Heaven. He's been to active war zones, the jungles of the Amazon, the frozen wilderness of the Antarctic, the rim of active volcanoes. He's made movies on every continent in the world. But there's one frontier he has yet to breach: the terrifying wastelands of Hollywood. Herzog has maintained his independence for more than 50 years, and it's unlikely his unconventional sensibilities and uncompromising attitude would ever find a home at a major studio. But nonetheless, when he went looking for funding to bring his epic vision for Conquest to life, he found himself making several close flirtations. I wasn't able to discover exactly when Herzog first had the idea for this film, but it's likely that the initial inspiration came sometime in the late 70s or early 80s, possibly earlier. After all, it's no secret that Herzog has long been obsessed with conquistadors. The Conquest of Mexico would have told a fictionalized version of the violent invasion of Aztec-ruled Mexico by the Spanish in the early 16th century, told entirely from the point of view of the conquered Aztecs. No additional information about the story appears to be available, but it was an idea that preoccupied Herzog's imagination for decades, one that he tried and failed to bring to life on numerous occasions. Initially, he attempted to produce the film independently, but quickly found that his ambitions for this particular project were so great that he would not be able to achieve what he wanted without some serious financial support. So he went where the money was: Hollywood, California. Herzog is said to have approached nearly every major studio and was either rejected or met with the usual amount of suggestions and demands for changes in the story or a smaller budget, all of which he uniformly dismissed. It's unlikely it would have gone any further than that had Herzog not met and befriended the hottest auteur in town, Francis Ford Coppola. To get a better sense of this project's timeline, I was able to confirm that Herzog and Coppola had established a semi-professional relationship by 1979. In his book Conquest of the Useless, Herzog's Diaries from the Making of Fitzcarraldo, he recounts, in early entries, working on Fitzcarraldo's script at Coppola's home in San Francisco. It's not clear whether they ever discussed making Conquest of Mexico at that time. Coppola was riding high on the success of the Godfather series and Apocalypse Now. He was using his newfound wealth and freedom to turn his production house American Zoetrope into the biggest independent studio in the world. After the death of the New Hollywood movement in 1980, marked by the failure of Michael Cimino's Heaven's Gate, Coppola sought to make Zoetrope a haven for the maverick filmmakers that were suddenly finding it more and more difficult to secure work in this strange new world of summer blockbusters. And as anyone who's seen my series of episodes on David Lynch's Ronnie Rocket will already know, that benevolent vision for Zoetrope was tragically short-lived. Coppola recklessly invested all his money in an ill-fated musical called One from the Heart, and when that flopped, it took his studio and a huge number of exciting projects down with it, including Conquest of Mexico. That was around 1982. According to a quote from John Milius in a 1999 article I found on Salon.com, Before Zoetrope's collapse, Coppola was attempting to secure Herzog a $20 million budget, a huge sum at the time, but obviously it never got very far. Things go pretty quiet for about 15 years after that. Herzog didn't let his failed Hollywood venture slow him down and remained as insanely prolific as ever. It's possible that he made a few more attempts to return to Conquest in the interim, but I wasn't able to find any evidence of that. The next serious attempt to make this movie came around 1996. Coppola had finally succeeded in paying off his debts and was looking to reopen production at American Zoetrope. One of the first projects he wanted to produce was Werner Herzog's The Conquest of Mexico. Coppola connected Herzog with New Line Cinema, the studio that had recently begun taking big chances on daring new directors like David Fincher and Paul Thomas Anderson. They had even handled US distribution for Herzog's Even Dwarfs Started Small, way back in 1971, when both he and New Line were just starting out. This appears to be when the project came closest to being realized. New Line showed serious interest, but like every studio before them, they had some issues with the budget and the script. Now, I don't know if Herzog consented to this or not, but according to an article on Hollywood50.com, New Line attempted to solve their little script problem by bringing in notorious gun-toting tough guy John Milius for a rewrite. Milius is perhaps best known as the writer-director of classic 80s action films like Conan the Barbarian and Red Dawn, but he'd also been a major unsung hero in the new Hollywood days, having written the script for Coppola's Apocalypse Now, as well as some uncredited polishing on films like Dirty Harry and Jaws. You know Harry's famous 44 Magnum speech, or Quint's chilling monologue about the sinking of the USS Indianapolis? That was Milius. All in all, I'd say he wasn't a bad choice. Like Herzog, Milius had little patience for Hollywood bureaucracy, and I could see the two of them matching each other's cynicism pretty well. But ultimately, it seems Herzog wasn't happy with Milius's draft. The production struggled through development hell for several years as he battled New Line for control. A few casting rumors popped up. Ralph Fiennes was being considered as Cortez, and Jimmy Smits was in talks to play Montezuma, but nothing materialized. Coppola officially reopened Zoetrope with the production of his daughter Sophia's directorial debut, The Virgin Suicides, in 1998, and even then, he was still mentioning Conquest as an upcoming release, as this rather snarky article from the LA Times reveals. After that, there's nothing. So what finally killed it? When exactly did Herzog permanently abandon this dream project? Has it been permanently abandoned? Could it still be in development somewhere? I'd like to know just as much as you, but that's all the information I could uncover. So until I discover more, I guess I'll wrap up with some speculation. Does this film still have any hope of being made one day? Even as a die-hard Herzog fan, I'd say probably not. It's true that he's recently found himself with the most exposure he's ever had in his career, having lent his voice to shows like The Boondocks, The Simpsons, Rick and Morty, and more. And it's true that he's recently been directing some fairly high-profile titles. In 2015, he released his highest-budgeted film to date, Queen of the Desert, starring an ensemble cast of big-name actors like Nicole Kidman and Robert Pattinson. Could this be some kind of precursor to The Conquest of Mexico? Has Herzog finally established himself as a major player? If the critical and commercial performance of that film is any indication, no. With his offbeat, existentialist style, he'll probably always remain a fairly niche taste. And you know what? I'm alright with that. I don't think this man belongs in Hollywood. I like the fact that he's an outsider. I like that he seems to make these weird little films manifest themselves out of thin air, year after year. I don't know where he finds the time, I don't know where he finds the money, but that's why I love him. He defies the odds. He makes his own opportunities. His is a voice that cannot be suppressed. And I suppose if I've learned anything about Werner Herzog, it's that he never runs out of surprises. So, who knows what the future holds? This has been an Unmade Masterpieces Quickie with DisRegarding Henry. Please subscribe if you haven't already, like the video, leave a comment, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr, and check out some of my other videos. I posted a review of an interesting Japanese film called Tampopo a little while ago that you might enjoy, so check that out. And head on over to my brother's channel Idiot Box and watch some of his stuff too. He does a series called Rough Cuts where he looks at different versions of movies and compares and contrasts them. The first episode is on Brian De Palma's Raising Cain, and it's pretty good, so check that out too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!